You wake up Monday morning and the first thing you feel is dread. Not fear, not anxiety. Just this heavy, suffocating dread that sits on your chest like a weight you can't move. You hit snooze 3 times because those extra 15 minutes of unconsciousness are the only peace you'll get all day. You drag yourself to the shower, put on clothes that cost too much money to impress people you don't like, and you drive to a job that's slowly killing you from the inside out. But here's the thing that nobody wants to admit. You're not stuck because you don't have options. You're not stuck because the economy is bad, or because you chose the wrong major, or because you're not talented enough. You're stuck because you fell into the most sophisticated trap ever designed by modern capitalism, and you don't even realize you're in it. I'm Max, and today we're going to talk about the job trap that's keeping millions of people imprisoned in careers they hate, and more importantly, I'm going to show you exactly how to escape it. Because once you see this trap for what it is, you can never unsee it, and that awareness is the first step to freedom. The golden handcuffs. Let's start with the most obvious part of the trap, the golden handcuffs. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You started this job making $45,000 a year. It wasn't great, but it was fine. You could pay rent, buy groceries, maybe go out on weekends. Then, after a year, they gave you a raise. $50,000, then $55,000. Then they promoted you and suddenly you're making $70,000, then $85,000, then 6 figures. And here's what happened without you noticing. Your lifestyle inflated to match your income. When you made $45,000, you had a studio apartment and took the bus. When you made $70,000, you upgraded to a 1-bedroom and leased a decent car. When you hit 6 figures, you moved to a nice 2-bedroom, upgraded the car again, started going to nicer restaurants, bought better clothes, took actual vacations. Now you're making $120,000 a year and you somehow have less financial security than when you made $45,000. Because your expenses grew with your income. You've got the nice apartment with the expensive rent, the car payment, the student loans that never seem to get smaller, the subscription services you forgot you're paying for, the lifestyle you can't downgrade without feeling like a failure. So when you think about quitting, when you fantasize about doing something that actually matters to you, you run the numbers and realize you can't take a pay cut. You can't go back to making $70,000 or $80,000 because you've structured your entire life around $120,000. You've locked yourself into a financial prison, and the salary is both the bars and the key you can't reach. This is intentional. Companies know exactly what they're doing. They pay you just enough that leaving feels impossible, but not enough that you ever feel truly secure. You're always 1 or 2 bad months away from stress, which keeps you compliant, keeps you showing up, keeps you grinding. The sunk cost fallacy. But the golden handcuffs are just the beginning. The second part of the trap is even more insidious. The sunk cost fallacy. You've been at this company for 7 years. 7 years. You've put in the hours, paid your dues, climbed the ladder, built relationships, learned the systems. You've invested so much time and energy into this path that the thought of starting over somewhere else feels impossible. You tell yourself, I've already invested 7 years here. If I leave now, all that time was wasted. I'm so close to the next promotion, just 1 more year and I'll be director level. Just 2 more years and I'll be VP. Just 5 more years and I'll have enough saved to actually do what I want. Except that's the lie. The trap within the trap. Those 7 years are gone, whether you stay or leave. That's what sunk cost means. The time you already spent is not a reason to spend more time. But your brain doesn't work that way. Your brain sees 7 years of investment and thinks you need to see a return on it. You need to make it mean something. You need to justify the sacrifice. So you stay another year, then another, then another. And suddenly you've been there 15 years and you're even more trapped than before because now you've got even more sunk cost. You're the guy who's been there 15 years. That's your identity. That's who you are. How do you walk away from that? I'll tell you how. You realize that the past is dead. You can't get it back. The only question that matters is, what do you want your future to look like? Do you want the next 15 years to be like the last 15? Because if you don't change course, that's exactly what you're going to get. The identity prison. This brings us to the third part of the trap, and this is the one that really messes people up, the identity prison. You introduce yourself at parties by your job title. I'm a senior account manager at XYZ Corporation, or I'm a project manager at ABC Industries. Your job isn't something you do, it's who you are. Your parents are proud of you. You made it. You've got the corporate job, the title, the salary. You're successful by every conventional metric. Your friends look at your LinkedIn profile and think you're crushing it. You've got the career trajectory, the upward mobility, the professional credibility. And underneath all of that external validation, you're dying inside. Because here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Your job title isn't your identity. It's a mask you wear to make other people comfortable with their own choices. When you tell people you're a senior account manager, you're not describing who you are. You're describing how you trade hours of your finite life for money. But you've worn this mask for so long that you've forgotten it's a mask. You think this is who you are. The thought of taking it off is terrifying because underneath, you're not sure what you'll find. Who are you without the title? Who are you without the corporate structure? Who are you when you're not playing the role that everyone expects you to play? This is why people stay in soul-crushing jobs even when they have enough money saved to take a break. It's not about the money anymore. It's about identity. It's about not knowing who you'd be if you weren't the person with the impressive job title. The scariest part? You meet people at 45, 50, 55 years old who've spent their entire adult lives playing a role they never chose. They became the person the job required them to be. They developed the personality that got promoted. They adopted the values that made them successful in that environment. And now they look in the mirror and don't recognize themselves. The retirement delusion. Now, let's talk about the fourth part of the trap, the big one, the retirement delusion. You've convinced yourself that you just need to stick it out for 25 more years. Just grind through, build up the 401k, get the pension if you're lucky enough to have one, and then at 65, you'll finally be free to do what you actually want to do. Let me ask you something. Have you ever met a 65-year-old who's full of energy, passion, and excitement about starting new adventures? Some exist, sure, but most 65-year-olds are tired. They're dealing with health issues. Their bodies don't work like they used to. Their energy is gone. Their risk tolerance is gone. Their window for adventure is closing or already closed. You're trading the best years of your life, the years when you have energy and health and time, for the promise that you'll get to enjoy the worst years. You're giving away your 30s, 40s, and 50s so that maybe if you're lucky, you can relax in your late 60s and 70s. And here's what really breaks my heart about this. Most people who make it to retirement realize too late that they were chasing the wrong thing. They spent 40 years building wealth. They don't have time to enjoy. They spent 40 years postponing life thinking they'd live later, only to discover that later never really comes. Or it comes when they're too old to care. My grandfather worked his entire life at a factory, 42 years. He was going to travel when he retired, see Europe, take my grandmother on cruises. He retired at 67. 6 months later, he had a stroke. 2 years after that, he was gone. He never made it to Europe. He never took those cruises. He spent his entire life working for a retirement that lasted less than 3 years. The retirement delusion is the master trap. It's the narrative that keeps the whole system running. Work hard now, sacrifice now, defer happiness now, and someday, decades from now, you'll get your reward. Except time doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. You can't get back the years you give away. The comparison trap. The fifth part of the trap is the comparison game, and social media has made this infinitely worse. You look at your college friends on LinkedIn and Instagram. Sarah just made partner at her law firm. Mike's a director at Google. Jessica started a company that just raised venture capital. Everyone looks like they're winning except you. So you stay at your job because leaving feels like losing. Quitting feels like failure. Taking a pay cut to do something you actually care about feels like moving backward while everyone else moves forward. But here's what you're not seeing. Sarah the lawyer works 80-hour weeks and hasn't taken a real vacation in 3 years. Mike at Google is on his second divorce because he's never home. Jessica's startup is burning cash and she hasn't paid herself a salary in 6 months and she's about 3 months away from a nervous breakdown. Everyone is faking it. Everyone is posting the highlight reel and hiding the behind-the-scenes disaster. You're comparing your internal experience, all the doubt and fear and exhaustion, to everyone else's external appearance, the carefully curated image of success they want you to see. The comparison trap keeps you running on a hamster wheel, chasing metrics that don't matter, trying to impress people you don't even like, sacrificing your actual well-being for the appearance of success. And here's the really insidious part: the comparison isn't even real. You're competing in a game where everyone's lying about their score. You're measuring yourself against fabricated standards of success that nobody's actually achieving. It's a race with no finish line, judged by people who are too busy running their own race to care about yours. The escape route. So, how do you escape? Because complaining about the trap doesn't help if you can't see a way out. First, you need to brutally audit your expenses. I mean, really look at where your money goes. How much of your spending is actually necessary, and how much is lifestyle inflation? How much are you spending to maintain an image? How much are you spending because you think you're supposed to? Most people discover they can cut their expenses by 30 to 40% without significantly impacting their quality of life. That nice apartment, you could live somewhere smaller. That car payment, you could drive something older. Those restaurants and subscriptions, you could cut half of them and not even notice. The goal isn't to live like a monk forever. The goal is to create breathing room, to lower your baseline expenses so that you have options, so that taking a pay cut doesn't feel like financial suicide. I did this 2 years ago. I was making good money but spending almost all of it. I sat down one Sunday and went through every single expense, every subscription, every recurring charge, every discretionary purchase. I realized I was spending $1,800 a month on things I didn't actually care about. Gym membership I used twice a month. Streaming services I barely watched. Eating out because I was too tired to cook. Buying clothes I didn't need because shopping made me feel better temporarily. I cut my expenses by 40%. My quality of life didn't decrease. If anything, it improved because I had less financial stress and more clarity about what actually mattered. Second, build your escape fund, not a retirement fund. An escape fund, money specifically earmarked for buying your freedom. How much do you need to have saved to take 6 months off? To take a lower paying job doing something you actually care about? To start a business? To retrain for a different career? Run the numbers. Get specific. Don't just fantasize about leaving someday. Create an actual plan with actual numbers and an actual timeline. If you need $30,000 to take 6 months off and figure out your next move and you can save $2,000 a month, that's 15 months. That's a concrete goal. That's something you can work toward. Third, start building something on the side. I don't care what it is. A business, a skill, a network, a portfolio. Something that gives you leverage outside your current job. Something that makes you less dependent on your employer. This doesn't mean you need to become an entrepreneur or start a side hustle, although those are options. It means you need to invest in yourself in a way that compounds over time. Learn skills that are transferable. Build relationships with people outside your company. Create value that isn't tied to your current employer. The goal is optionality. You want to have options. You want to be able to walk away if you need to. You want your employer to need you more than you need them. Fourth, and this is the hardest one, you need to separate your identity from your job. You need to remember who you are underneath the title. What do you actually care about? What would you do if money wasn't a factor? What did you dream about before you got on this treadmill? You are not your job. You are not your title. You are not your salary. Those are things you do to pay bills. They're not who you are. And the sooner you internalize that, the sooner you can make decisions based on what you actually want instead of what you think you're supposed to want. The real cost. Here's what nobody tells you about staying in the trap. The cost isn't just your time, it's not just your energy. The real cost is that you become someone you don't recognize. You become the person who's too tired to play with their kids when you get home. The person who drinks too much on weekends just to cope with the stress. The person who's irritable and checked out and going through the motions. The person who's given up on dreams and settled for security. And the tragic part? The security isn't even real. You can be laid off tomorrow. The company can restructure, the industry can change. That stable paycheck you sacrificed everything for can disappear in an instant. And then, where are you? You've spent years building a life you can't afford to leave, developing skills that only matter in one narrow context, becoming someone you never wanted to be, all for a security that was always an illusion. The real cost is looking back at 45 or 50 or 55 and realizing you spent decades building someone else's dream while your own dreams died quietly in the background. The choice. So here's where we are. You now see the trap. You can't unsee it. You have two choices. You can keep pretending you don't see it. You can keep telling yourself that it'll get better, that the next promotion will fix everything, that you just need to stick it out a little longer. You can keep playing the game and hoping it works out. Or you can acknowledge the trap and start building your escape route. Not tomorrow, not next year, today, right now. This doesn't mean you quit your job tomorrow. It means you stop lying to yourself about what you're doing and why you're doing it. It means you get clear about what you actually want. It means you start making deliberate choices instead of just defaulting to the path of least resistance. Because here's the thing. The trap only works if you don't know you're in it. Once you see it clearly, once you understand the mechanisms, you have power. You can start making different choices. You can start building a different life. It won't be easy. Easy would be staying where you are, collecting your paycheck, following the script. But easy isn't the same as good. Easy isn't the same as fulfilling. Easy isn't the same as a life you'll be proud of when you look back. You get one life, one shot at this. And every day you spend in the trap is a day you don't get back. The question isn't whether you can escape. The question is whether you will. Whether you have the courage to admit that the life you're living isn't the life you want. Whether you're willing to make the hard choices now to create the freedom you want later. The trap is real. It's sophisticated. It's designed to keep you exactly where you are. But you're not stuck. You never were. You just believed you were, and that belief became your cage. So, what are you going to do about it?